Hello. I wrote the poems in this chapbook, Glass Language, Untitled, Exaltation, during a period of years where my language and memory were shattered by sleep deprivation. In order to keep myself connected to poetry, I started writing in a file about our life with young kids. I didn't think much about what I was writing. The point was to do it. I amassed a large repository of content, but I stopped adding to it as life found its new level. While reflecting on how hard it was to remember anything as a result of years of disrupted sleep, I realized what I had in the original file was literally those memories stored on my computer. I wondered if I could treat that original material with processes that would be similar to what was happening to my mind during sleep deprivation. To replicate some of the effects of memory loss and the difficulty of thinking, I wrote Python scripts that cut up, recombined, and selected random lines from that source material. The results were a mess and not very good, but I edited them down to try to make sense of the jumble that had once been rational. Much like how memories are stories, how we gloss over the messy, difficult, or impossible to recall details, how we invent the connecting pieces to attribute to our memory a sense of completeness, I worked on the poems to attempt to let them become something new, an active remembering. Memory, as I now think of it, is not entirely an act of recall with varying degrees of fidelity, but also an act of creation. We look at the glossy or glossless images of our past and we glue them together into a whole new collage. A small song for Andrea. If I struggle to arrive like a union of treated pianos, then I'll bind to that sound some vitamin D and toast. If I'm a hot Monday wavering, then look, what a way to start writing without myself. If I'm somewhat public in the public's mind, I'll listen. If your body says walls are a problem, where forests mean otherwise than being, is it a fine memory itself becoming afraid to village? Either way, if I've held you close enough in that moment when the aesthetic clicks, then I'm expansive in the way I've used the word relentless to describe reading. Quiet mornings in letters or a tantrum, a roundabout or in a round, a resounding ballad of dissonances plays, and a coffee machine beeps, sound in a box. Emmett and Miles woke before I left at 4 a.m. to cry out, held in that moment with them, in that moment with you, in the dark, in the moonlight and stars, asleep. Is there any coffee? Building blocks scatter at dawn, timpani rolls at dawn amidst the mess. A toddler is triumphant in his nature, and a season of illness has left us wanting, exhausted and aching, wanting, exhausted and aching, wanting for warmer weather and better health, warmer weather and better health, warmer weather, better health, trudging into spring, falling forward, and calling it progress, tempered at least by joy. The work is as it was, not as it is, as it was, not as it was, ever, not ever. Poetry but a thing, poetry but a thing of the world, a necessity and nothing more. A line. Rotting timber, our brains and silting muck, our riverbeds and beds and forests, our undeniable forests, and it's a horrifying time to be alive. If our eyes and ears are to be believed, our hearts and lungs, my sons and repeat, my sons euphoric and repeat, my sons euphoric as we never knew, as we never knew before, exhausted and full of life, expanded beyond full, expanded beyond life, expanded beyond what life, expanded beyond life, expanded expanded beyond what we ever thought possible, what we ever thought possible, and love, what we ever thought possible, and what melting into whatever, snow into rain now. And I know, and I melt. No mountain alone with the self, no self alone in the mountains. No warmth without everyone, no self alone with a mountain. No mountain alone with the self, a self. No self alone in the mountains without everyone's warmth. No warmth without everyone. No self alone in the mountain. Pale blue wind clouds the eyes. My children, Emmett and Miles, walking toward us, toward evening together, hand in hand, breath after breath. Mulch, brush, loam from leaf. Boards creak under their feet, ideas plucked from their words. I fidget, looking for a flash against metal, a high note keening on wind. A field of noise expands, a drone unwound along a line of my kids together, a long sound crying high, a high note held long, a song cycle goes round, a decay rate slowing, a drone undone against time, speech without text. Ash thrown skyward pulls wood through fire into a bare idea of wood, scent, heat, noise, ash, sent aloft like music. A small song for our children. If my life becomes a wall of bees and smashed pianos, then know that our voices cut through the noise, and if several paths flood, then we'll build a boat together. If, my children, you wonder at the weight of everything, then know you brought lightness to our world. You are a bright light in the beautiful, expansive darkness. If you find smooth pebbles along the shore of a river, know that your mother and father were there before you, holding them in our hands as we hold you. If the forest suddenly becomes a series of trees, if a beach is a pile of grains, if infinitesimal hitches catch your thoughts, then look to us and we will be smiling. Thank you.